Well, hello again. My name is Kathy. I am the interim trio director, and welcome to the UW Martin's Achievement Scholarship Workshop with our Highline alum. Thanks so much for coming. So for today, we'll go over a brief scholarship overview of the UW Martin Achievement Scholarship. That's the one specifically for students who will be at Highline for another year after the end of this school year. After the scholarship overview, we'll have our 5 alumni presenters speak about their application process and what it's been like for them. Then we'll go into a brief activity for you all to practice a little bit more about how you might write your essays for the scholarship. And then finally, we'll end with Q&A for today. So that's the plan. Does anyone have any questions before we get started? Okay. Again, feel free to unmute yourself if you have questions, or you can toss in the chat and one of our facilitators will answer. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can y'all see my screen where it says Martin Family Foundation Scholarships? All right, great, thank you. Okay, so welcome. So this presentation was originally created by the UW the UW Office of Merit Scholarships, Fellowships, and Awards. I will include the PDF for this presentation in the chat so y'all can access it. So it is kind of formatted from their point of view. So some portions I'll skip just if it doesn't pertain to our presentation today. Yeah. So the UW Martin Honors Scholarship, the UW Martin Honors Family Scholarships, there are two kinds. So there are the Achievement Scholarship, which is the scholarship we'll be talking about today. And then there is also the Martin Honors Scholarship. We're hoping to do another workshop for the Honors Scholarship sometime in May, so that students who will be transferring to UW this upcoming fall quarter will get more information about that. So there's the two scholarships. The Martin Achievement one is due April 6th. The honors is due July 1st. So again, we're talking about the Martin Honor Achievement today. Those will be for students who are planning to still be here at Highline in the upcoming school year. So some of the basic eligibility requirements include being a Washington State resident. So you might be a U.S. citizen, permanent resident, or otherwise eligible for in-state tuition through HB 1079, SB 5194, or DACA. You must be attending a Washington Community College currently and in the upcoming school year, and have interest in transferring to UW Seattle, and be enrolled full-time throughout. So it's really important to know about your Washington State residency. We've had students before who were in the process of establishing their state residency, but we're still able to apply because by the time that they start at UW Seattle, they were going to be residents. And financial need is not a requirement, but it is considered in final decision making. All right, so again, there are two scholarships, two opportunities. The one that we are talking about today is the Achievement Scholarship, right? So you'll be applying by April 6th if you've at least had 15 credits at a community college and planning to be full-time here at Highline in the upcoming school year. If you're selected, you would get $5,000 for this upcoming school year at Highline, and then you're going to be transferring to UW in the next school year, right? So 23-24. And then you would get up to $12,000 per year while you're at UW Seattle. If you're not selected, please still consider applying for other scholarships. Consider applying for the UW Martin one, right? So there's a second opportunity to apply for a Martin Family Scholarship. And still highly encouraged to plan to transfer to UW Seattle. Okay, so here's the Achievement Scholar. Here's Kayla. I know there were some pictures earlier of our scholars that I didn't get to call out, but here they are. So this year, now all Washington Community College students are eligible. Previously, I believe it was limited to about 15 schools. So I'm assuming it might be a little bit more competitive this year because now a lot more people are able to apply. So keep that in mind. So again, apply if you plan to still be here at Highline for the next year. You must be currently enrolled and have earned at least 15 credits. They recognize exceptional ability in science, humanities, music, art, and our leadership. And the award itself is contingent on your admissions to UW Seattle, right? So you'll get $5,000 for the upcoming school year here at Highline, so for the 22-23 school year, and then $12,000 per year for up to 3 years at UW. The funds are pretty flexible, right? So you can use it for tuition, room and board, books, study abroad, or other educational expenses. And Running Start students are not eligible. Um, yeah, so I'll go ahead and go to the next slide. So for the application process, the process is an online application which includes basic biographical and educational information, 4 essays, current unofficial transcripts from all the schools you've attended, a CV or a resume that lists honors, awards, scholarship, service, research, work experience, anything else you might want to include, and then 2 letter recommendations. This is the part I noticed that some people forget about, that it's 2, not 1 letter. So one of them has to be at least from a faculty member addressing your intellectual curiosity and potential. And the second can be written by someone able to address your capabilities and volunteer and community involvement. So that could be your advisor, that could be your supervisor, that could be a mentor. For example, I've written some before for some of our students as their trio advisor. So a lot of different people who could write that second letter for you. Some advice from scholars. So this one is from Maya. Maya, would you want to read it out loud, or I can read it?
Sure, I could read it. And so I sent this piece of advice in when we were doing the biographies. So once the UW Martin Achievement Scholarship puts up in the info for the scholars on the website, there's usually some advice here. And this was the one I provided, which says here, before sending a request to a letter of recommendation writer, it would be good to prepare a resume, curriculum vitae, or a brag sheet for the writer to use as a reference. And so that way they'll know like what specifically you want them to talk about in your application. So if you say had a professor and then you had a supervisor, you could say like the professor focused maybe more on my academic points, and then like my supervisor maybe focused on more of my leadership points, like, just so things don't overlap, because each kind of information that you provide to the scholarship selection committee is really important. So if different people can highlight different aspects of yourself, then it all kind of comes in as more well-rounded for you as an applicant. And also on the last part, to send out the letters about, or the requests about, a month in advance, just so you kind of give them heads up in advance, so they're not like rushing and not giving their best letter of recommendation for you because of time constraints.
Thank you. All right, I'll go ahead and move on. So here are the Martin Scholarship essays. They generally stay the same each year, and they are very similar between the 2 scholarship essays. I think they're a little bit different, but whether you're applying for achievement or honors, they're pretty similar. So the first one is, what are 2 significant courses you've taken at the community college in preparation for your career? Briefly explain why. Briefly explain why these courses were the most significant. The second one being, describe an activity or experience that has been important in shaping, clarifying, and or strengthening your motivation to pursue an undergraduate degree in your proposed field of study. Why do you think this particular activity or experience influenced you? And then the last 2 questions for this is, describe a recent particularly satisfying experience or activity either at work, community service, or with your family. Do not repeat the previous experience that you described in the second question. And then the last one is, what additional information do you want to share with the Martin Scholarship Review Committees? So consider this essay question as an opportunity to provide any additional context to the information already shared in the previous essays. Consider filling in any gaps or connecting any dots that would allow the selection committee to better understand you and your goals. So yeah, there are four questions. I find that even though they're really specific, you might have already written essays that might answer some of these questions. So you can kind of pull this from other things that you've written, or use this to write your future personal statement for transfer. So some additional advice: start your essay early. Read the prompts thoroughly and carefully. Your essays are used to evaluate your candidacy, so it's important to put a decent amount of time and effort into writing them. If your community college has a writing center, don't be afraid to ask them for help with proofreading and syntax. Remember to pour your heart out into your essays. It is a time where you are able to share who you are, your passions, and your aspirations. Be honest and open to the extent in which you are comfortable with the struggles and barriers you've endured in your pursuit of higher education. This is your chance to have your story heard. Good luck. So after you do your applications, some semifinalists will be selected to move on to an interview process. So again, there's an internal campus review, and from there they will invite a few candidates to interview. So you'll be notified sometime in April about that. The interviews will plan to be held on May 10th with the Martin Foundation board members. And here's some of them here. And so in your interview, don't forget to review your application. Remember, what are some of the things that you wrote about? What are some of the things that you've highlighted there? Because they probably will ask you a question again about what you've written about. Practice with case, practice with a friend, your faculty member, somebody to help you kind of get used to talking about yourself. And then finally, be yourself, right? They have chosen you because who you are is somebody that they see as a Martin Scholar. So be yourself in the interview. Some additional advice. Susan actually also is a Highline College alum. She just started at UW this past fall quarter in nursing. So her advice is, do not be afraid to tell your story. Be willing to be vulnerable and talk about your life experiences and how they have shaped you. Choose a topic that matters to you when it comes to essay writing. Practice your interview, be prompt, and listen to the questions carefully. Yeah, so top tips would be to start early, plan to do multiple drafts, and to get feedback. Getting feedback from Renata, who is our Transfer Center director, is a great place to start. Some additional advice. Introspection and brainstorming are key to fully answering essay questions. Always searching deeply for your motivations and aspirations is helpful. Also, connecting your motivations to the community, if that pertains to you, is so helpful in conceptualizing and communicating your personal vision to others and how investment in you is investment in our community. Your future is everyone's future. Dream big, dream ethically, and put the effort in. All right, MJ, do you want to read this advice that you wrote? If not, I can do it. Okay. So you are worth it. So stop questioning yourself and go for it. Take your time. Don't rush. Make sure you give yourself plenty of time to write and review your essay. Read it to yourself out loud and pour your heart out. Try to convey it in the writing. Write your essays about your experiences, achievements, and challenges. Be authentic, but most importantly, you have to believe in yourself. You belong here. Remember, this is the beginning, so start by applying. Good luck. All right. So some additional information for you all. Please do apply. My personal opinion about this stuff is that it doesn't hurt to apply unless there's something else happening at that time that requires more of your attention. Other than that, I always tell folks to just apply. You never know. So how competitive is the scholarship? The fact is that only the people who apply for scholarships are selected for scholarships, right? So what is that saying? I'm not even gonna try to act like I know the saying, but the saying about like how you're like, Kayla, go ahead.
Miss all the shots you don't take.
Thank you. You miss all the shots you don't take. Ah, no wonder they chose you as a Martin Scholar. Thank you so much. So instead of thinking about how competitive a scholarship is, consider how competitive you are for a scholarship. It does take practice, so apply for scholarships all along the way. You just have to keep applying. Some hopefully, like for myself, when I graduated college, I applied to over 100 jobs before I found my first time job. Like you kind of have to keep doing it, and you get practice by applying for those things. And another fact is that the Achievement Scholarship gets a lot less applicants than the alumni scholarships. They usually get about 20 applicants per year, and they usually award between 3 to 4 students. All right. And so here's the information for the UW folks over at UW who manage and run the scholarship. So if you have any questions, you're also welcome to reach out to them. And that's it for my portion of the presentation. I'm going to pause for a second just to see if anyone has any questions for me. We will have Q&A at the end. But if not, we'll go ahead over to our scholars to presenting their work in their application process. Okay, sounds good. All right. So if that's the case, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Chris to present.
Everybody, give me a second. Let's see. View. And then right here. All right, you guys all see this good?
Yep, it's good. It's in presentation mode.
All right, awesome. So hello, everybody. My name is Chris. I'm a 2019 Martin Achievement Scholarship recipient. I was at Highline College from 2018 to 2020. And that's crazy to think about, by the way, like how it's been that long already. So I guess before I begin, I'm gonna give some quick background before I went to Highline. So I grew up in LA, South Central LA, come from immigrant parents. My dad immigrated from El Salvador, mom from Mexico. And my dad, he was kind of like in a gang growing up. So he always told me that, the way out the ghetto is to go to school or to join the military. And at the time, I had like a 0.8 GPA in high school. So I knew that I wanted to like play with guns and stuff. So I joined the military. And then I'm doing the military. A year after joining the military, I married Teddy. And we had a daughter, Mila, and she's the one right here in this picture. This was right after my deployment to Iraq. She was 10 months old and she had no idea who I was, but she was smiling in this picture. So yeah, so when I had Mila, I realized that it all started when I joined the military. I got out of my environment and I see that people out there don't live paycheck to paycheck. They actually come from families that provided them like pretty much a good lifestyle growing up. And I realized that I wanted to do the same for Mila. So that's when I started taking classes online through Ashford University. And so I did that on deployment. And then I realized during Ashford that online learning is not for me. So then that's when I enrolled into Copper Mountain College. And I started taking gen eds there, like psychology, English, that good stuff. But during this time, I witnessed a motorcycle accident. I felt pretty bad that I couldn't save this person's life. So I took an EMT course. And during that course, I was introduced to healthcare. And I realized that, doing CPR and helping people out, it gave me the adrenaline that I was seeking in a career. So then around this time, we were watching Grey's Anatomy and we saw how beautiful Seattle looked and we just fell in love with the idea with it. So then we came up here and that's when we enrolled in Highline College. So during my time at Highline, I was also working as an EMT with TriMed Ambulance here in King County. I was president of the Veterans Club, and that was pretty fun. Finding your own community, pretty much at any stage in your life, I think it's important so you could keep striving for more. And I was also volunteering at a fire department. And then Teddy, she was pregnant again, and we have little Lila now. So these are the two girls. And obviously, pretty much since the beginning of my time at Highline to the end, Trio has been like, even to this day, the stuff that Trio has helped me with, it's still making a difference, and it's pretty awesome. And during this time, that's when Trio was like, "Hey, Chris, check out this scholarship, apply for it." And I was like, "You know what? Why not?" So then I started the process. And during the essays, they asked for which classes, pick two courses and tell us about them and how they shaped their life or something like that. And the two courses that I chose to talk about, the first one was an EMT course. And, as mentioned earlier, it introduced me to healthcare. But another thing too, something that stood out from this course was that this was the first time in my life that I enjoyed reading a book or, I actually sought out more information. And so, and then as an EMT, you see people and then they have their symptoms and then you got to analyze all the symptoms and come up with like a differential diagnosis, so that was pretty fun. And that class taught me how to have that analytical mindset. So that's pretty much what I mentioned in the essay. And then for Chem 161, Gen Chem 1, that was my first real STEM course. And the way that I would approach other courses was completely different than this course. So I had to pretty much learn how to study all over again. And that's what I got out of it. And that made me a better student. And also another note with this Gen Chem course, it was really how do I say this without cussing? It was it was hard for me. So I put a lot of effort as I would go see the professor and she eventually ended up writing one of my letters of recommendation. So yeah, with this, pretty much just don't choose a class that you think is gonna look good on paper. Choose a class that you actually got some value out of it. And then with the process for me personally, the essays, they did take the longest. And, earlier we got some advice that was pretty much the same thing. I'm going to say that, take your time with it. But something that I recommend, I get a lot of writer's block. So, like if you sit down and like just
I'm not sure I understand.
whatever you have, whatever thoughts you have, just put them down on paper and expand them later on, or like, start writing and then take some time to hang out with your friends and family, ground yourself, and then keep going at it. And also with the essays, please use other people to help you out with them, and then especially Grammarly has changed my life. And for your letters of recs, just when you're asking for them, like I remember being intimidated just asking the professor, hey, can you write this letter for me? But really just, it comes down to just shooting your shot. Worst case scenario, they say no, but that's also the worst case scenario if you don't even ask, So it's and then at the end of the day, you still get that exposure asking for a letter of rec. And for this, I used my camp professor, as mentioned earlier, because I feel like I established like a student professor relationship where she knew that I was actually trying. And then my supervisor at work, that's just something I use because I feel like they were able to speak to my work ethic. And then when you're sharing your story, like be genuine about it and then don't fabricate it, So like stay true to yourself and write, I guess like write from your heart, Don't try to like guess what they want to read or they want to see, like, or what sounds better in paper. Just share your story and that's it. You gotta remember that you as an individual, you're special and you could do it, So just be genuine. And then with the interview process, so this is an email I sent Kathy. I think it was like a couple hours after I interviewed, and I just wanted to jot down all the questions that I remember them asking me. And then yeah, so pretty much, I walked into the room. There's about like 5 different board members there, and they just go take a turn just asking you questions about whatever was on your application, pretty much. So they ask questions like what high school you go to, why did you get a 2.3 in this math class, or what organizations were you part of in Highline. So that's, yeah. So I mean, so if anyone wants these questions, I could send them your way. And then so tips. So these are my tips. And so with the LOR, again, ask your professors that well and give them plenty of time. I think they said like 5 to 6 weeks is ideal, but the more time you give them, the better. But then again, realistically, like at least how I am as well, I save my work when it's close to the deadline, So just I just give them a reasonable amount of time. And as Maya mentioned in that advice, like I think that's amazing, sending them a cover letter or your brag sheet, that's amazing. And you should definitely do that. And again, with your essays, start early, take your time, have people triple check it. And then with that, when you're asking people to read your essays, you want them to be people that you trust, and you want people from different backgrounds. That way they view your essays from different perspectives, because the people that are reading your stuff, they might not be from like an academic background or more from a professional setting. So yeah, just make sure you get different points of views on it. And again, don't sell yourself short. And then when you interview, like at the end of the day, you got to remember that just these are people on the other side of the table, and they're really genuine. They want to hear your story. They want to get to know you as an individual. If you made it to the interview stage, that like you met all the requirements and they're pretty much wanting to give you the scholarship. You just have to like bring them in and make sure that like just talk to them. You're a human being. And yeah, so with that, like even if you don't get it, like the interview, like it's still it's very important, because next time you apply for a scholarship, you already went through this part and you know what to expect. And then the last tip, use Kathy, like for interview questions, anything, use Kathy. And then we'll come back to this. This is a thing we'll do later on, but I do want to share this quote in the bottom that I heard from Steve Jobs. And it says, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You could only connect them looking backwards. So like with me, for example, like everything I've been doing is kind of all over the place, and I never thought that it would get me to what I want to do now. But looking back at it, I'm able to see how they brought me to where I'm at now. And with again, a quick side note with the scholarship, it really is, it can make the biggest difference. When I transferred here to the University of Washington, I was able to so when I was at Highline, I was working full-time and I was a student full-time. But when I transferred, I was able to just focus on school and other things that could come with that, like finding internships and research. And that was amazing. And now I'm about to graduate here at UW, and I'll be going for a master's degree, and that's 12 grand off the master's degree, So like you guys, like this is like some serious stuff, and it could help. So you guys like just try. And yeah, Thank
Do
you
you
guys.
really quickly, do you want to share some of the internships you've done there?
Yes, yes. So actually, another thing I got from Trio, it was the internship. It's called the UW Neurological Surgery Summer Student Program. So UW NSSSP, and I applied for it when I was in my last year at Highline College, and then COVID happened, so I did it like a year later. But with that internship, so I was pre-med. I wanted to be a doctor, and with this internship, they put you with brain surgeons. You do research with them. You shadow them in the OR. You hear go grand rounds. You hear lectures from different people within the department. You're able to hang out with the administrators. You talk to the residents. So overall, it was a good experience, and it was very eye-opening. And that's right here. I don't know what happened. Can you see?
We can see your PowerPoint and it's at the bubble chart.
Okay, I'll just exit it there.
Okay.
Yeah, so the internship, it was so I had clinical experience as an EMT, and I knew that because of that, I wanted to pursue medicine. So I wanted to explore another side of the healthcare system, which was research. And during research, I was able to see what other people, and other approaches you could take to healthcare. And it was just over. I think it was awesome, like just trying to get exposure to whatever field you're trying to get into from different perspectives. And yeah, so like after the research and the EMT clearance and all that, that's when I realized that I don't want to be a physician. And I'll talk about that later in the why bubble mapping.
Thank you, Chris. All right. So the next person we have up is Kayla.
Okay. There we go. Sorry if you hear any background noise. I live off the highway. But hello, everyone. My name is Kayla Pezzolano. I was a UW Martin Achievement Scholar in 2022, and now I am a student at the university. But before that, I was a Highline College student. So a little background about me and my story. I moved here 3 years ago from Queens, New York, and I still am a first generation college student. So going to college was something that was really important to me, not only for myself and my goals, but also generationally, to break family curses. So when I moved here to Washington, I was looking for opportunities, and I was kind of at a crossroads in my career because I had a lot of experience in the administration field. So when I was applying for jobs, when I first moved out here, I actually had like a chance conversation with this hiring manager, and we were on the phone, and she asked me, she was like, your resume is great. I'd love to bring you on. I'd hire you in a heartbeat, but you sound a little young. Can I offer you some advice? And I was like, sure, I'm not gonna turn down the advice, even if it was unsolicited. I was glad to see what she had to say. So she asked me if I wanted a career in finance, because a lot of the admin work I had done was in accounting offices. So she was like, yeah, I just want to tell you, if finance is not what you're looking to do, then I suggest you reevaluate, because you're sort of pigeonholing yourself, and that's what you're going to end up doing. And sure enough, looking back at my resume, and just she worked at an accounting office ready to hire me there. I had to sit down and reevaluate what I wanted to do. And that's how I ended up at Highline. I have a passion for writing, and I realized I have some natural business talents. So I settled on communications, and I applied at Highline, and then that's when I was introduced to the scholarship through Trio as well, and Kathy. Kathy's amazing, and you will hear this. This is a common theme throughout this all. So yeah, I have to make it uncomfortable and say that because it's the truth. So what did life look like for me at the time I applied? So I'm calling this sort of session here the tea, because I'm going to give you a full disclosure of what was going on in my life at the time. So when I moved here 3 years ago, I was in a long-term relationship, and my boyfriend at the time, his family was from Washington. So I had visited a bunch of times. And when he decided to move back home, I moved with him because, like I said, I was looking for opportunity to grow out of my circumstances. However, shortly after I moved here, I was in my first quarter at Highline. That all came crashing down. So I was now going through a bad breakup, figuring out where I'm going to live. And I still had my classes. I was working full time. So the scholarship that I was introduced to, it didn't make sense to me to apply. I was thinking in my mind, I'm like, okay, I can't afford right now to apply to this scholarship. There was 4 essays. I was just so overwhelmed. And it was a couple weeks before the application was due. And I had a meeting with Kathy because she was my advisor at Trio. And she was asking me what my status was with applying. And she, and I told her, I was honest with her, I was like, I haven't even started. And you need those 2 recommendations. And as Maya pointed out in her advice, that it's traditionally you give your letters of recommendation a good amount of time to provide you a good rec, right? So I mean, I only had a week or 2 to get a recommendation and for them to provide it to me. But Kathy said that she would do it, and then I was able to get one from my coworker. So I ended up applying, and obviously I'm here now. I got the scholarship, and that's paying for my tuition right now. And I paid for a year of my tuition, support tuition for books and everything. It supported me while I was at Highline too. So when I graduate, that'll be most of my tuition taken care of and my degree paid for by this scholarship that at the time I didn't believe was worth my time. So when it comes to the application process, the first thing I would say is commit to the process. You know, if this is something that you want to do, which you should, it's a great opportunity. It's over $12,000 worth of aid if you are applying for the Martin Achievement Scholarship. And there's other opportunities through there. So make sure you apply and make the decision to commit to it. And then spend time on your essays. Like that, this is what the bulk of the application is. So you have prompts for the essays, you know what they're looking for. So just make sure when you're writing them, you sort of emulate what it is that they're looking for in these prompts. Of course, you want to be authentic, but you want to tell your story. You want to leave it all out on the application. Maybe show a little bit of vulnerability if you're comfortable with that, but put your all into them because this is how they're making their decision is through these essays. And then for the interview process, there's going to be 9 board members. So it is intimidating to hop into a Zoom meeting and everybody, all eyes are on you, 9 people, but they're going to read your essays. So make sure that you review them before you go in, since there is a little bit of time between, you know, when you apply and when you get an interview invitation. So all those questions that they ask you, they're going to be based on you. And you want to be confident because, you know, they're there, it's your time, right? They're there for you and you want to own that space. And I remember when I was in my interview, one of the board members had asked me a question, and it kind of like discouraged me because he asked me if I was going to be able to graduate on time in the fall of 2021, which was when I transferred to UW. So at the time I was halfway through and I was close to completing 45 credits and I needed another 45. And I basically told him like, absolutely, like I've been hitting all of the marks throughout this whole journey. And, you know, I did it this year, I'll do it next year. And sure enough, I went to UW in the fall of 2021. So no matter how intimidated you feel, you just have to own that space, own your story. And that's where, once you write the essays, it's really all there for you. And when I wrote my essays, I chose the 2 classes for one of the prompts that they ask you. I chose American Diversity and Public Speaking because I want to be a writer and a community leader. So I felt like my public speaking class really helped develop my voice. And then the American Diversity class gave me the knowledge and like the background to understand my community. So then I'll end it with this here. The UW slides for the Martin scholarships. They gave everybody's advice, and this is an excerpt of the advice that I gave. And I'll also link in the chat the link to they have a history of the Martin Scholars, and they started in 2019, I believe, asking for future tips for applicants. So you can find everybody's advice on this link. And mine was, get it done, don't doubt yourself, make the decision to commit to completing your application and give it your all. Use it as an outlet to express yourself and your goals, a place to reflect on the struggles you rose above. More importantly, start counting your accomplishments and be confident there's more to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. Oh, and then we'll probably have y'all do that in the breakout rooms when we do our activity. But we'll go ahead and move on now to MJ.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Let's take a moment to breathe, guys. I feel like we're all a little bit on the tense side. Relax, it's just among us. Oh, did I do that? Did I take it off of the thing? Can you guys still see it?
Yep, we can see it. If you want to click that yellow share button on the top right corner, it should make it big.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Oh, sorry, not share. I'm the slideshow button next to the share button.
There it is. All right, so this is my journey. My name is Miriam Mencias. I go as MJ, and this is my journey to the Martin Scholarship at UW. A little bit about me. Oh, I went too fast. Wait, what happened? Oh God, you guys just saw the entire presentation. No, I don't know what happened. And this is why we don't do it this way. All right, let's try that again. Oh, because that's a slideshow. Got it. Where is the presenting thing? Okay, yeah. Presenting. There you go. Is that better?
Yes.
There you go. All right. So once again, my name is Miriam, and this is my journey. All right. So a little bit about me. Taking a look back. Wow. We've come very far from where we used to be, right? I am a first generation. I'm a mom, like you may see. These are all my girls, all my beautiful girls. I used to be a cook as well. I've been many different aspects of my life, but I'm nothing special, guys. I'm just like you, right? I am just like you. I'm a first generation who just wanted something better for my kids, right? I'm a first generation multiracial. I'm a mother of beautiful girls. I'm passionate. I am an advocate. I am a passionate advocate, a policy reformer, a student support and equity fighter. I'm constantly advocating, constantly looking to change the status quo. So what are we doing? When you're writing about your statement, you know, one of the things that I would like to first is please, 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 if Kathy is holding her class for the transfer, take the class. But Ms. Jen Heckles has 100 Honor 200 class that is also, what is going on with my computer, guys? I am so sorry. It just keeps moving on its own. Again, she has an Honors 200 class that I recommend that you guys take. That should be your very first step to take your honors class. They will help you in every step of the way when we're talking about writing your personal statements, where we're talking about writing, you know, your essays. They will definitely help you in those areas. Visit the writing center. I cannot stress this enough. I look at my essay now and I'm just like, gosh, I wish I would have visited the writing center a little bit more often because I don't know how I even got elected. I wrote human being as a bean, like rice and beans. Yeah. So I want you to take that into account, right? And ask for your letters of recommendations definitely early on. Be raw, be organic, be honest, right? This is your story. This is not about a foreign entity. This is you. So I know that sometimes these essays can be a little bit personal, but as long as you feel comfortable, please pour your heart out. Be honest. This is about you. And please take the time to ask for feedback when it comes to these letters. Take the time to ask. I called it a letter, but it was actually my personal statement. Take feedback from everybody, from as many people as you feel comfortable sharing your story with. You know, go to Jen, go to Kathy, go to the writing center, visit people that you think they can give you, I want to say positive, but also negative feedback, right? You want to hear it from both sides. Sometimes we suck at writing and that's okay. I want to know, right? We want to know if we need to improve, right? So for me, that is the very, very, very top of what I can say about the statements. My tips: see about other scholarships. I know this sounds terrible, but definitely see about other scholarships. You want to see about scholarship, you want to go to Transfer Thursday, you want to walk the campus, you want to ask questions, ask to speak to advisors, ask question, guys, about this scholarship. You want to go into the website, you want to do your own research. Definitely go ask your advisor, go ask other people on the campus, on your campus, right here at Highline, about the scholarship. To me, I feel like asking people questions never hurts, right? So asking questions is the most important. Get to know the professions and the professors and the staff, right, beforehand. Get to know, when I mean get to know, go to the Transfer Thursday, start walking around the campuses and start feeling comfortable. The application process seems less intimidating when you feel that you know the campus, right? When you feel that you've done the work, when you're asking questions and you feel you're more informed. At the interview, God, I cannot stress this enough. Be confident. Please review your paper and remember what you wrote, because they will go back and ask you. I took business law and I took communications. Those were my very two classes that I picked. And you best believe that they asked me, why did I pick communications? Why did I pick business? What did I learn from those classes, right? They want to know why. So these are your chance to shine, your chance to say what you learned, right? And why do you think you're a good candidate? And there's always going to be a devil's advocate, right? I had in my interview asked me, well, why should we give you a Martin Scholarship? Why you and not nobody else, right? Or my favorite question is, are you going to be able to afford it if, you know, you come to and you don't get this? I was like, sir, I will work. I will do whatever it takes, but I am going to get my degree. So there's always going to be somebody that is there to kind of, you know, poke at you. You have to be ready for those things. You have to be ready. You have to be confident. And I know I say this, but try practicing, right? Try practicing in the mirror, try practicing with other people, what you're gonna say. Try to think about all types of questions that they're gonna ask, and they're all related to you. So yes, go back to that essay. Remember what you wrote, speak about it, right? But speak your truth, you know, be confident in that area. All right. And I'm gonna keep it 100, guys. If you don't get a mentor, I don't know what you're doing with your life. These are my mentors. They're also my trio team. They're also my partners in crime, right? So please take advantage of the mentors that you have. Please speak to them. They'll guide you. They'll talk to you. You know, they'll tell you about the process. Get comfortable with asking questions. I am a very curious person and I'm constantly asking questions. I'm constantly questioning why things work this way and why not that way. If you get yourself a great mentor, they will guide you, they will walk you through. And I cannot say thank you enough to these ladies here. Unfortunately, one of my favorite mentors is not here no more, but it's okay. You know, she's moved on to mentor other students and we're still friends. So please take advantage of your mentors, talk to them, speak to them, ask questions, and don't be afraid. This is about you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, MJ. All right, so Maya, we're ready for you.
Great, thank you. Let me just share my screen here. So my name is Maya Leonard. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the current student body president here at Highline College and also a Martin Achievement Scholar from last year. Just a couple of pictures up here with my family and with some of the other students that I interned with during one of my extracurriculars. And just to share a bit of my background before attending Highline College, I've been born and raised here, King County, all my life. I'm biracial and bisexual, and due to cultural stigmas surrounding my bisexuality in my Vietnamese community, I went through quite a pretty bad depression and anxiety for quite some time. And I just didn't even know if I would even live past 16 just because of how badly I was doing mentally. And after a couple years, my mother was diagnosed with stage 2 lung cancer, and then it progressed to stage 4. And so during that time, I was like, okay, my mother's going through a lot. You know, I really got to pull my stuff together and be there to support her. And so she was really there, you know, doing all she could to fight for her life, to live and support me. And so I was like, okay, so why am I going to give up on my life? You know, she's trying to support me. I got to do the same for her. And so because of that, you know, I was like, okay, she's talking about running start, you know, she's got like my life plan, education plan. She's super involved, such a big boss mom. And so I love her for that. And that was how I ended up coming to Highline. And so my education path, I want to go into medicine, similarly to Chris during his story of when he shared with the Martin Achievement Scholarship last year, which actually attended the same workshop, got to hear tips from them as well. And so my first tip would actually to be attending this. And so glad to see that students are here doing that. And for myself, back to my pathway of education, I chose to go into a psychology pathway because I just saw how frequently mental health issues were not getting treated or diagnosed in my Vietnamese immigrant community. And it was so widespread. And I was like, we need to have a culturally responsive approach to this. And so with my cultural background and experience living through some social stigmas, I was like, I should go into psychiatry. Like this fits well with both the more medical side of treatment while also, you know, the social aspect of human beings. And that was when I really started to think, okay, these social stigmas, it's more than just, you know, one mental illness that one patient is going through. It's a more widespread um, social barrier that just exists. And so I really wanted to start getting involved on campus and in my community. And so I started the Social Equity Club at the same time. I think it was when Chris was with his club at Highland as well. I do remember seeing him around campus at times. And so yeah, it was really nice having that club where students could just share their experiences and we got to hear stories from each other and be able to take away those lessons. And into the following school year, I started working in the Intercultural Center at Highline as a peer facilitator, being able to promote social justice topics and be able to facilitate such events was really great because we were able to create a space for any students to just learn or share their stories. And actually, in July 2020, I was able to volunteer with the Communities for Colleges Coalition, which actually had students reach out to me because of my involvement with the Social Equity Club. And so then eventually I started interning with them and I'm still involved with them today. And actually, MJ is familiar with this. I'm like tied to nearly everybody here. So it's great seeing we're all kind of connected in some sort of way. But the Communities for Colleges Coalition is very involved with policy work on the state level. And we were able to pass this bill called SB 5194, which provides $33 million investment into Washington's community and technical college system. And so that was quite new to me because I came into Highline thinking that I wouldn't be involved with policy and policies because medicine was the route I wanted to go. But I soon began to realize like how important it is for so much of this policy work, how it affects the mental health and well-being of so many students, which then connects all back again to my reasoning for wanting to pursue my education. And then now into this school year, I was initially hired on to student government as a speaker of caucus. So this is like the third year in a row that Highline has had a speaker of caucus get the Highline Achievement Scholarship. But then I got moved over to student body president soon. And so that's the role that I have been doing now in Highline and my community. And over to the essays and tips. For the first essay, similarly to Chris, one that I chose was a STEM heavy one. And then the other one was something that I felt like related to healthcare a lot for me. The physics 139 class was the first class that I took in college in my first quarter. And I shouldn't have done that. Like, if there's going to be one subject to take, don't take physics during your first quarter. And so I soon realized that. And I was like, damn, I really need to change my study habits. I got like 50% on my first midterm. And so just throughout the course of taking physics with the same professor who was the one that wrote the letter of recommendation for me, just really being able to go through that process and learning not just physics, but how to learn was so important to me and integral to the rest of my college experience. And sociology 201, social problems, that really opened me a lot to seeing how social, cultural, economic, political, all of those aspects, how they affect individuals, and then tie in once again to my reasoning for wanting to pursue my career. And so, yeah, like I mentioned here, try and ask a professor who you chose one of the classes for the essays for, if possible, because then, they could speak from their perspective and you can speak from your perspective on the class. And so the selection committee will be able to see both sides of it. And for the rest of the essays, I feel like it really has to be something personal to you. Either it's something that really positively impacted your life or something negative where you saw like, I need to make a change and this really motivated me to do that change. And so yeah, 2, 3, 4, those 3 essays, I feel like they're kind of tied into each other, so they can each represent a certain experience of yours that can really help provide like the full story, the full circle of who you are as a person. Um, and I would recommend to provide one perspective where like you went through something and how you overcame that, how it shows your perseverance, and then another essay like showing what positive impact you've been able to make. So being able to have that balance, I feel really helped me. And then I think now we still have the optional COVID-19 impact essay. And so that was when I was able to express financial need in my family due to COVID-19 impacts. And even though they say that you aren't required to show financial need, it still is considered. And now that the application is open to every community college in the state, it would probably be helpful to show some financial need in order for your candidacy to be, more competitive. And really taking time to write your essays is super important because if you're not being reflective, calm, thinking about who you are as a person in a positive way, then it'll be hard to write these essays if you're like cramming and like, oh, I need to get this done. I need to get this done. You're not thinking about like who you are as a person and the roots of, your journey. And so I would definitely recommend taking that time. And I feel like I kind of mentioned this earlier, but really choose some folks who know you well that you've been able to work with over a couple of quarters, let them know sometime in advance so they get a bit of a heads up on it. And also tell them what you want to be addressed in those letters. And then this is kind of small here. I couldn't attach the whole picture, but if anyone wanted me to send over to you what the interview questions were, then I can send it over to you. But yeah, like whatever folks have mentioned, it's very tied to your application. And so tell us about yourself. That's just a way to get the conversation going. And one of the questions that kind of took me off guard was asking about my YouTube channel. I mentioned like one line of it in my CV resume, and I hadn't even talked about it in my application at all. And so when they asked about it, I was like, oh, this is embarrassing because it's like me just being a fangirl, for BTS and just talking about my hobbies. And so when they asked me about it, I was like, oh no, what do I do? But I was able to talk about how I brought this community, a global community together of just a bunch of fans where we could really just come and enjoy something nice and genuine. And one of the interviewers talking about, oh yeah, my neighbor, her daughter really likes BTS. And so just being able to have like that nice conversation with them just shows like they're really here to get to know you. They're not trying to like pick on you too much. Like you're an interviewee, so they already like you. They just want to make sure you don't have like, super big red flags and all of that. So it was definitely intimidating at first, but as I got to have a conversation with them, it definitely felt less nerve-wracking. And also now with COVID, make sure your internet connection is good because mine did glitch a bit and I got really nervous when they were in the middle of asking me a question and I missed like half of it. And so please make sure that you have some stable internet. And I think that was all of the slides that I have for now. And then later we can get into the bubble chart of what I had. And feel free to ask me any questions if you do have them. Thank you.
Thanks, Maya. That was so great. I was also going to say your first slide, you look like Olivia Rodrigo there. So YouTube channel makes sense. All right, we're going to hand it off to our last scholar. So Lynn, whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, sorry. Okay, let me share my screen here. Can you all hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everybody. My name is Rainin. I go by Lynn, and currently I'm a senior of the Bachelor of Social Welfare, or in short, social work, UW Seattle. I'm a Martin Achievement Scholar 2019. I'm just gonna go very quick because I think we have less time, like just to be respectful of everybody's time. Okay. My background, like some of the scholar, I am a first generation college student. I'm the first in my family to go to college. I am an immigrant from Cambodia. I've been here for 4 years, so not too long. Former students at Highline College, I was a Speaker of the Caucus too. So 3 of us were Speaker of the Caucus. And I transferred to UW. So majoring in social work. My previous major was communication, and then I changed my major to social work. I have a big interest in helping immigrants and refugee community, and I also worked as a program coordinator at Open Doors for Multicultural Families. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with it. It's an organization that helps kids with disabilities, and I'm also a community advocate, especially my community advocate. Currently, I'm serving as a social services coordinator at Northwest Immigrants' Right Project. It is an organization that help immigrants, undocumented immigrants, or those that facing domestic violence or deportation, and I'm helping them with referring to different social services or public benefits. So back then when I was trying to apply for the Martin Achievement Scholarship, I was not like I wasn't really know what's going on. Like I was trying to exploring stuff for myself. because at that time I'm so new to the US educational system, just here in the US for like less than a year, and really new because I got my high school from Cambodia, and so like it's just two different systems, and it's pretty hard, pretty challenging. But I have Kathy, and I have a lot of great advisor that guide me through the process. So I was just trying to exploring. I've been involved with a lot of communities and communities on campus and off campus. I was a part of TRIO, ANAPZ, PTK, Center for Leadership and Services, and I try to get involved as much as I can. I try to build relationship with my professors, but I did not know what I really, really want, to be honest with you. So that's okay if you don't really know exactly what field you want to major in, what kind of job you want to land. But like I think like what we can do is just to start exploring and try our best. The class that I wrote in my essay was communication, public speaking class, psychology class, but I think what's mattered the most is the class that you really like, and that inspires you, that motivates you, and that you learn the most and have shaped you personally and professionally. So everybody's have their own preference, and it doesn't matter if it's like an intro level class or high level class, as long as you talk about how it's shaped you, how it helped you to realize your goal, how it shifted your thoughts, your perspective. So yeah, as long as that class have help you, shape you, and all that, talk about it. So I don't want to worry too much about like the level of the class or if it really related to your major or not. So the application, just like others, 4 essays, 2 recommendation letters, one from my professor and another one I think from Kathy, and then they'll notify you if you get to be a finalist via email. And I spent a month and a half to prep for my essay. So because my English was not so good at that time, I was like newly arrival immigrants, my English was terrible. So I imagine like English is my second language, and it's hard, but it's doable as long as you seek help with your advisor, with Kathy, and you tried your best. But just want to let you know that like this is a little competitive, so I want you all to like, if you can, spend more time to focus on your essays. The interview process, they'll notify you by email, so keep an eye out after you submitted your application. And I did practice a lot with my advisor. I rehearsed my my interview with Kathy a couple times, and I did rehearse with my friends. So prepare. I recommend you to do like mock interview rehearsing with your friends, with your advisor, with your professor if you can, because it's always good and to receive a feedback, even though it's negative or positive. And during the interview, I really suggest that we all should dress professionally and be prepared, because you want to present yourself. You want to let them see you professionally. And if it's on Zoom, make sure you don't have a lot of like background. So just like be professional. And the reason why I said that, because the first impression is everything. And I think that if you want someone to see you as a leader, as a professional leader, or the one that, I don't know, just dress professionally and be presentable. There will be 8 board members or 9. I don't know. I think during my time there was 8 members. They might seem intimidating, but during the conversation, I've learned that they're not that intimidating to me and like kind of joke around, and they will ask you some personal questions. So I suggest that you disclose yourself professionally, but also let them know who you are personally too. My tips is just like other scholars, I want you guys to give it a shot and believe in yourself. I was not confident about it, and I didn't think that I would make it, but I did it anyways. Kathy told me to do it, so I just did it and I just got it. So just believe in yourself and give it a shot. The worst that could happen is you don't get it, but you will have experience of writing your personal statement, and you can use that essay to for your transfer personal statement. So just give it a shot. The worst that could happen, you don't get it, but you have drafted your story for your future references. And share them your own and unique story. Tell your story, talk about your goal, talk about what makes you strong, talk about what motivates you and what inspires you, and what have you done to develop yourself and make change in your community. And it doesn't have to be a like a long work experience, but just letting others know that what have you prepared to achieve your goal, what have you done, that just let others know that this is not just like a you like a funny goal or like a goal that you wasn't serious about. You want to let them know that you're serious about your goal, and this is what you've done and why you have that goal. And be clear. And also, just like other scholars said, seek help from your professor, your advisor, and use writing center resources. And I have like 3-4 people to review my essay, so it doesn't hurt to do that. And just like I said, you can always use your essay for your personal statement transferring to another university. And build connection with your professor, and especially when it comes to asking your professor and your advisor to do a recommendation letter. I just want to make sure that you pick a person that know you, that know you, but also you want to make sure that they have the skills of writing the recommendation letters, because some people might have a good relationship with one professor, but that doesn't mean that that professor will write you a good recommendation letters. And the last essay is the most important one, because the first essay, you answer what they ask you. And then the last one is the one that you can give it a shot, telling them who you are, telling them your aspirations. So the what I did was my last essay, the fourth one, I spent a lot of time on that one, because the last one is the one that they'll know you, they'll learn about you. So yeah, I think that's it. And let me know if you have any questions, or you want to have like a picture of like my personal statement as well. I'm happy to share that with you. Or if you are looking toward to transfer to social welfare or social work program at UW, I'm happy to help as well. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thanks so much. All right. Okay. So we have one more presentation that we are going to do. It's going to just be the getting beyond the why question that we have for you all to start practicing your essay. So usually in this portion, we break you all out into breakout rooms to practice how to write your first like sentence and like going beyond the why. So if you can in the chat, please feel free to let me know if you all would be interested in doing that activity where you get to practice writing, or if you rather go into Q&A. We have until 5:30 today. I'm happy to stay, but I want to be mindful of everybody's time. So just throwing that out there, if you could please share in the chat if you would like to participate with the essay or just kind of move along to Q&A. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can y'all see my screen here where it says getting beyond the why to the what and the how? Okay, great. So basically with this portion here that that was developed by our very awesome honors programs coordinator and faculty member. We really want to encourage students to think more about what they're writing and to be really descriptive with it. So rather than saying, I want to do this because of this, tell us more about what it is and how you have gotten there and what are some of the things that have helped you get to that decision. So the first example, I've always wanted to be an educator. That doesn't tell me anything, right? All I know is like, okay, you want to be an educator. That's about it, right? It doesn't tell me about why. It doesn't tell me about how you got to that decision. It doesn't tell me about what you've done to prepare you for it or what you've done that taught you want to become an educator. I see education as a way out of poverty, and that is why I've always wanted to be an educator. So again, tells me a little bit more, but I think this person could be a little bit more detailed. As a three-time college dropout who worked to make ends meet, education has pulled me out of poverty, and I want to provide that to other college students as an educator. So again, it tells me a little bit more about why, right? How they've gotten to this career goal, how their own personal experience has informed this career goal. All right, example 4. Growing up with foster sisters, I saw how public schools failed my sisters. I dropped out of 3 colleges by the time I was 20 and felt like colleges failed me. I struggled to make ends meet and decided to go back to college. That's where I met an advisor who cared about me and looked like me. Transformational advising lifted me out of poverty. I know my calling is to pay that forward by being the best transformational educator I can. So again, tells us a little bit more about their own personal experience, how that personal experience affected them, their own education, and affected their career goal. And also in that career goal, learning more about transformative advising and how that's the type of work they want to do. And the final example for it tells us a lot more about that original thesis statement of, I've always wanted to be an educator. So this one, seeing the public schools failed my foster sisters over and over while case managers bounced them from school to school and home to home was the first time I understood that a good education is a privilege. By the time I dropped out of 3 colleges, I felt like schools failed me too, and maybe it did, but I also failed myself. I was not ready to be in college then, so I worked. For 6 years, I struggled to make ends meet, and I don't regret it. Working to survive is how I learned to be resilient and to plan for my goals. I am successful because I was a college dropout who values education. Although I never want to work 12-hour shifts back to back to survive, I know I can. This is my resilience. When I understood that for me, college was my only way out of poverty, I returned. Ready to take the help my tuition was paying for, I found an advisor who cared about my success, encouraged my strengths in business, and they even looked like me. They were exactly the transformational advisor I needed to find my calling. I was called to be a transformational educator. I want to remove barriers to college, especially barriers that those who've experienced foster care face, and transform education from a privilege to a right. A degree in XYZ from ABC University is how I plan to do this. So again, tells us a lot more about what their goal is, what their experience is, how that has prepared them to get there. I know now too that this person prior to going back to school was working. So I know they have work experience. I know how that might have impacted them. I know that they went to college at other places, right? Um, and that experience was negative, and that even though that experience was negative, it has impacted them to where they are today. It has positively impacted their decision to go into education. All right. Oh, and then this again, shout out to actually Lyle from the Academic Success Center for creating this presentation. So now we're going to have you all work on this, right? So we're going to have you all start with kind of like a thesis introduction sentence. So depending on what you all decided to do, we might not have the time for the breakout rooms, or we might just have our scholars show their activity for this. Start with a thesis sentence, right? So this one, for example, is I want to be an engineer. And then from here, tell us more about why do you want to do that? What prepared you to do that? And how you plan to achieve that goal. So, for example, I noticed how freeways were always being built in my low income neighborhood, removing parks and homes in order to build it. My sister has asthma, and it seemed to get worse during the construction of the new I-5 off ramp. I took engineering classes and got excited learning how to use science and math to build things to improve the lives of people. I want to incorporate people-centered design into engineering, like the push-pull door example, where you only put a handle on the pull sign. So this is just a really quick way to kind of branch out what is your main goal, right? So what is this thesis statement? So for your personal statement, it might be, I want to transfer to UW Seattle to become a social worker. And then you branch out, right? Why do you want to do this? How did you get prepared to do it? And how do you plan to achieve that goal? All right. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing. I think with what folks have shared, would you all like to participate in doing this activity, or would it be helpful for our scholars to kind of show you how they approach theirs? Okay, we said one person said yes. Okay. Okay, I think also with the notes I'm getting for students, I will have, if any of the scholars want to show their chart, as they do that, I put the Word document into the chat about the sample. So go ahead and open that and work on that along with us. Any of the scholars here want to show us your sample?
I don't mind sharing. All right, we're all good. All right, so this is mine. I started in the center. So last year when I did this, it was I want to be a physician, but then this past year, now it's I want to be a healthcare administrator or consultant. And going left to right, so we're starting here as an EMT. So as mentioned earlier, the EMT class introduced me to healthcare and it made me want to be pre-med. And it was just really something about being there for people at their low points. But as an EMT, working here in King County, I started noticing disparities within lower socioeconomic cities. So for example, when I would work in Burien or White Center, I would have a lot more calls for minor things compared to going to work in a city like Bellevue, where they have everything, that they have easier access to healthcare, they have better insurance. So I started noticing that. And then I came to UW and I became a public health major. And during this major, I realized that you can drastically impact people's lives with policy. And something they say is it's easy to spot the problem, but can you offer the solution? And the reason why I want to be a healthcare administrator is because the multifaceted problem solving. One of the things is that, in a perfect world, we could give insurance to everybody and, all the good stuff, but there's also like a business side to the hospital. And, a lot of the times they want to go with the cheaper route. And I feel like it's important for someone, of color who understands the people to be there, making sure that, the hospital gets their better deal, sure, but someone's also looking out for the immigrants, the people without insurance and all that good stuff. And so during my internship last year, while doing research, I learned that evidence or fact-based decision making, that could actually be very powerful. Like if you do the research and show how only 5% of doctors in America are Latinos, and then you pretty much put a spotlight to that. Some organizations and institutions do care about that, and then they'll look into how to change policy to increase diversity within healthcare, for example. And then also just seeing that people out there do care about diversity, and but the people do care, but they don't want to do the work. So someone has to do the work to bring attention to it, and I feel like that's where I would be able to come in because it's something I kind of care about. And one of the perks of doing the internship was that we got to shadow physicians and we spent a lot of time with them. And this kind of transitions us to the talents and passions. And I realized that one of the most important things to me is time, like time to spend with your loved ones, with your daughters, like time for your hobbies, whatever makes you happy, like you need time for that. You can't just be grinding the whole time. And so life happens, like deaths and all that crazy stuff. And life is not linear, so it's okay that you don't follow linear cookie cutter path. You kind of just have to take your experiences and try to take something out of it. And so that's when I realized that being true to myself, like with STEM versus business, as a pre-med student, you're doing a lot of STEM. And I realized that I did not enjoy reading the physics, the bio, the chem. I would kind of just force myself, but I was miserable spending hours studying them versus where if I would have shifted my attention to what I actually enjoy, my interests, like tying that with my goals. Like I feel like that's just so awesome. And you could tie your goals with your hobbies or interests. That's a cool way to approach it. And I feel like that's something that I realized this past year. And also another reason why I want to be a healthcare administrator is because a long-term goal of mine is to increase healthcare access to marginalized communities. So for example, 2 years ago, my dad was having chest pain, which ended up being a minor heart attack, but he didn't get checked out because he didn't have insurance and he didn't want to pay 10 grand for just that checkup. So I feel like it's very important to me to make it easier for people without insurance, or anyone in marginalized communities, or like the veteran out there that's having mental health issues and people think he's crazy. Like no, like there's a lot more that goes into it, and also paying it forward. So one of my long-term goal is one day I want to start a scholarship fund or a corporation or a nonprofit. I'm not sure what it is yet. That's going to give pretty much just the same idea as this, but I wanted to focus on, more pre-health students or anyone that wants to make a difference. I kind of just I want to be the person that gives the homie hookup to other people like me, and I can hook them up by giving them a scholarship because, at the end of the day, finances do impact people receiving good education and all that good stuff. So that's one of my goals. And, so to start that, I kind of need capital, I need money. And if no one out here is gonna be like, hey, Chris, here's 500 grand, go give it away. So, no one's gonna do that. Like, why not be the person doing it, So yeah, that's just, and then, also all of this combined and the past 4 years as a pre-med and all that, going back when I was applying, like, I did not see myself getting here now, but now as I look back, like I needed all of those experiences, even the bad, to give me the perspective I have now. And that's why I put the quote by Steve Jobs on the bottom. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Chris. All right. I think for the sake of time, I'm going to really quickly show folks what Kayla wrote, and then we'll just open it up for Q&A unless Maya or Lynn, you want to share yours. But here's what Kayla wrote on hers. So for hers, I want to be an author community leader. Talked about a lecture that she attended with Anita Hill, so reaffirmed her choice for the right major, using her voice and writing as a tool for change and representing her community, fostering connections. Desire to be a community leader is growing up without any role models and wanting to be that person for their community. Coming from a low income family that has struggled to break the poverty cycle, drop out of high school to financially support my family, have been the matriarch for my family for a while and sacrifice time away from them to pursue a college degree and break generational habits. So hopefully doing this activity and practicing it yourself is helping you think more, right? About like why are some of the reasons that you want to do this thing? How have you been prepared to get there? How has your life informed this goal that you have? All right. Maya and Lynn, if you want to share yours, feel free to. If not, we'll open it up for questions from anybody.
I'm not sure if anyone have any questions. Okay, sure. I can share mine real quick. Not the right one. Sorry, not the right one. So I'm just gonna share this real quick, similar to most of you guys. Okay, here we go. So I said here, I want to be immigrant community advocate, and then I talk about why I want to be an immigrant community advocate and what have I prepared and what is my ultimate goals and what's my next step. So why? Because coming to US as an immigrant is challenging to try to navigate the system, blah, blah, blah. And that's why I want to work to help immigrants, refugee community, because I want to see change in that community. And also another reason is that I want to help people in vulnerable communities who are in need. They have worked hard, got paid less, encounter language barrier, etc. Has like they don't have a certain right like citizens and cannot let their voice to be heard. I don't want to see this continual oppression. I need to advocate for them. So that's just why. And then this is the top paragraph is how I have prepared. I work in immigrant nonprofit. I took social work classes. I took immigration law classes, and I've been doing a lot of community campaigns. And then I also talk about my next step. How have I planned to achieve my goal? So this I talk about like my ultimate goal, and I think we can you guys can talk about what's your next step, what you want to do after you graduate, what you want to do in next 5 years, or your ultimate goals. So basically just expand out why you want to be that thing, and how have you prepared yourself to become that things, and later on what do you plan to do after you have that degree, or what do you want to achieve. Yeah, let me know if you have any question. Patty, should I keep this or should I stop share?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and just stop sharing. Maya, if you want to share yours, you're welcome to do so. Or again, if anyone has any questions, I would also recommend while you're listening, open up that Word doc and try that yourself. What are some of the things that you would write on for your little bubble chart?
Yeah, so for mine, I have no idea where I put in my most recent one, but this is the one that I found when I was actually doing the practice level during the actual presentation. And so this is actually quite different from my personal statement, but like the first two pieces here, like I went through this thing that really impacted my life and my mental health. And seeing like later here, I talked about my BTS YouTube channel. And so they were actually the reason why I got involved in social justice, because they talked about a lot of these issues. And so this, I guess, just to kind of quickly talk over this, it shows how like, you can take multiple pieces of your life and choose which one you want to create this narrative, because what I started off with was not what I ended up with. And so this is like why it is a process and it's not an end all be all. And as you continue through your process of doing this bubble, really think about what you feel like impacted your life the most and go ahead and stick with that. Because for me, yes, I was introduced through social justice with them, but just like deep down, like my family, my friends, my own life, like those who were directly surrounding me, those had a greater impact. And so that was how I eventually went with that topic instead, but still they were factors as well. And so really being able to think about all of your factors, maybe list them out and then go through them one by one and see, okay, which one impacted me the most? How can I write, several essays on this possibly? And then from there, that might be where you can continue to work through your process for your personal statements. And just as folks have shared, like really using Highline resources have helped so much with that. And with the Martin Achievement Scholarship, this was the first scholarship that I just ever got. And I continued to use like this personal statement for other scholarships. And then those scholarships kept on coming in. So this workshop, this process really helped me not only get the scholarship, also for many others in the future as well. So it's definitely a huge help.
Thank you. All right. Any questions for our scholars or for any of the folks here? We have our transfer center director here. We have our honors programs coordinator, Amoja and Trios here. So any questions that y'all have for us or for our scholars?
Oh, I also wanted to make one note about like eligibility for the Martin Achievement. Since I was a Running Start student, they said like the eligibility is Running Start students can apply, but that's only for like if you're not doing a third year at Highline because you get like your $5,000 of funding for your last year of community college. So if you're in Running Start, then tuition's covered. But if you're currently in Running Start and are still staying at Highland for a third year where you would need to fund your own out of pocket, then you would be eligible then.
Yes. Thanks, Maya. Yeah, so if you are a Running Start student and you're about to graduate with your high school degree or diploma this year, you would be eligible because the next year you would be a full-time Highline student and not a Running Start student. All right. Any final questions or anything? If not, I'll go ahead and stop the recording.